How sizzling is it that Off the Top Rope is giving you the episode you've dreamed of? Join in the ropes Memorial Day night at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, presented by SixPackCoverage.com. Wrestlers only dream of being her. Action on AEW, a huge July 17th night for pro wrestling action. I salute my captain. Vicky Dreamboat is live on Off the Top Rope to talk it up with your boy, Ty Asbury, about what she's up to next in becoming the sizzling star we all know she is.
Tyrone Asbury. Yeah. I need y'all to listen to me right now as I take you on this journey. Podcast journey. Only the greats can make it to this level.
What is up, everybody? Live on this Memorial Day night. I'm your boy, Ty Asbury, of course. I want to say, you flipping some burgers right now. And this is delicious. My live guest, of course, she is the Stranglehold Championship Wrestling Women's Champion, of course. Boom. I salute her. The one and the only, the captain, Vicky Dreamboat, is live on the ropes. Vicky, what is up? Tapate.
Hey, what's going on, man? Thank you so much for having me. I'm super stoked to be here. I just tweeted out that we're live, so rocking and rolling. We're doing it.
We are rocking and rolling. It's rock and rolling, getting this good. So I want to say first and foremost that this is from the heart, straight up. I've seen what you've been doing. You've been doing conventions, AEW, pro wrestling action, Stranglehold. You're doing amazing things. And from the ropes, definitely proud of you, first and foremost, before we get started tonight. Very proud of what you're doing.
Thank you very much. We can't make me cry yet. We just started, but I do really appreciate that. Give me like a couple minutes at least before we start crying here. Come on. Woo.
So how I would ask you first and foremost, happy Memorial Day. Just before we came on the show, you said you got some barbecue waiting. So
I'm wearing my American flag anchors. Doing it.
Yeah,
my mom made these for me.
Definitely everybody having a great holiday and a safe holiday is first and foremost. But of course, how are you doing? Because I want to ask you first and foremost, before we came on the show, you said you were traveling, just got back home. On average, how many hours of sleep have you gotten?
I'm sorry, sleep?
Sleep, yeah.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah.
Never done that before. Yeah, no, I would say so. when I was at the Nightmare Factory, camps was going back and forth between Atlanta and between Jacksonville, so it's 6 hours. I was doing that every week. So I was traveling 12 hours a week to train, and then at MomoCon with Stranglehold Championship Wrestling, it was the same thing. It was a 6-hour drive there and back. And it takes me a long time to fall asleep. So I would say like my average sleep intake is about 3 to 5 hours is probably what we're doing. It's just fueled by caffeine and pre-workout, man. That's it. That's all I got.
Now, speaking of working out, I admire what wrestlers, what you guys do, and just training, working out, and just getting ready to the next town, to the next match. As of late, have you found any, because there's so many like different workout videos, exercises you can find today. Have you like experienced a new workout that has helped you, or it's just like the same groove with you as far as like workout routines?
That's a good question. Most of the stuff that I've been doing, I actually got from Coach Ian at the Nightmare Factory. Ian Childress, he's the one who like designs the strength and conditioning programs. So I was already lifting before. I was into powerlifting and into just weightlifting and like some bodybuilding workouts, even though I'm not a bodybuilder by any means. But most of what I'm doing is based off of what I learned there. And then I also like dynamic training, functional training. So a lot of the time, if I'm like, man, I'm really sore, like I can't lift heavy today, I'll end up doing like box jumps and, plank walkouts and pushing the sled and just things that are more like kind of almost cardio based. Yeah. Lots of many hours of my life on the Stairmaster, just keep stepping, But aside from that, nothing new, nothing like monumentally life changing or anything.
Yeah, I got to say, on average, like how many like planks can you do? Because I do planks when I work out. and they can be a pain in the ass, but they're beneficial. So how many planks can you get in? Like, I mean, how many seconds can you hold one? Because plank aren't they're no joke.
Oh, honey, I'm not talking seconds. My record is 7 minutes.
Damn.
Yeah. But I was to be totally fair, I was pretty drunk, so I am told it was 7 minutes. It might have been like 5. I was very, very sore the next day, so it has to have been at least 5. But usually I'm holding like 1 to 2 minutes at a time, and then doing like walkouts or doing like what do you call that? Like knee to elbow or whatever, or shoulder taps, playing shoulder taps, stuff like that. Just like stability. But I'm still kind of figuring it out. I'm no expert by any means.
Well, first and foremost, you must be doing something right because, like I said, being, of course, the Stranglehold Championship Wrestling Women's Champion, you are doing something right first and foremost. Now, Vicky, this is your first appearance on Off the Top Rope. Yes. First and foremost, you got a lot of fans now. When we gain more fans after the episode is over with, what do you want fans to get out of this episode when you step off the ropes tonight?
That's a good question. I haven't really thought about it. I think that people have kind of like a like rose-colored glasses about wrestlers and about people that they're fans of in general. And I don't even know if I have like fans. I'm like really grateful for anybody that follows me and does whatever they do. But I would just say, like, remember that everybody's a real person, because there's been times in my experience, like at the convention, where they're like where people just kind of forget that you're a human being with like thoughts and emotions and physical needs. And I'm sure that what I'm experiencing is like nothing near what people at the highest levels are experiencing. So that's like probably my biggest takeaway, or what I would want the biggest takeaway to be, is just like, remember that wrestlers are real people, and especially on the internet, you're not just talking to some like bot. You're talking to a real human with feelings. Stop saying mean stuff.
Yeah. And I really want to bring up a subject, and I see it a lot because first and foremost, you and myself, we're all wrestling fans first and foremost. But it's just like today, social media, it can be a good thing, but it's like wrestling fans, I can see the negativity with wrestling fans. And as a wrestler, do you guys like see that? Like, do you, or it's just like brush it off and just keep doing what you're doing?
It depends for me. Yesterday or 2 days ago, I posted this picture that I thought was like super dope on Instagram, of me walking out after dark, like after my match with Robin. And I tagged the photographer and like I was like, man, this looks good. And I got like 3 or 4 comments that were just like, oh, you look so ugly in this picture, that kind of stuff. And frankly, I was like, okay, actually, I can swear, right?
Go ahead.
Yes. Okay, cool. Actually, I don't give a fuck what you think about me, but I'm also not trying to have like all this, like a barrage of negativity. So I just archived the post because I was like, whatever, man. If this is like what people's impression of this thing is, then y'all can think what you think. I'm going to keep on doing my stuff because I know you're wrong. So, but that kind of thing is really frustrating. Like, I get if I don't answer DMs, because I generally I try to be really good about responding to messages that are booking inquiries or podcasts or people just saying hello. But when people are like inappropriate or pushy, I stop responding because I'm a person who has other shit to do. And so frankly, like if people are crappy about that on DMs too, it's just really disheartening because it's like, just be a nice person. It's baseline, not that hard. Literally all you have to do is be nice and then figure it out from there. But I don't like to focus on the negativity because I think that there's so much more positivity. And generally, like I would say that people tend to be gracious and kind more than they are negative and rude.
Yeah. And, I say this, if people want to hate on the captain, I'm going to tell you this, say it to her face, and you're going to be singing a different tune. I'll say that. Step between those ropes. Yeah. And you'll find out. So, but.
Man, I would never hurt somebody outside of the proper context unless they really deserved it. But not only am I trained in wrestling, like I can mess somebody up. So
yeah, I don't want to find out, but now I see that you have outside of wrestling, of course, you are known as, and this is a compliment, known as a goofball, but we all are.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
I think you have to be able to laugh at yourself, and if you can think of one thing lately. Have you done something that was so goofy that you just laughed at yourself? Because we have that, like whether you slip or fall down the steps, which I'm very well doing. But something lately that's happened to you that you just laughed your ass off.
God, that's such a good. I really like this question, and I'm mad at myself because I can't. I know that there was something recently. I'll tell you one of my favorite stories. So my fiance and I, we travel a lot. We go like around Florida. We go out of state. We're both. He's from Wisconsin, but we met in Seattle, so we go back to Seattle. And I was there for a wrestling show a couple weeks ago. And when we're there, we stay at his theater there. And there's like this really teeny tiny shower. And so I was like, whatever. After the show, like show went well. I broke or I fractured my finger, but it's getting better. It was like pretty much a perfect match. Like awesome time.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hanging out. I get out of the shower and I eat shit, like loud enough that he comes running. He's like, what happened? Are you okay? And we're both just busting up because I had this huge bruise on my leg. It's like, all right, go travel for a wrestling match. Like, get hurt in the fucking shower. Cool. That makes sense. That makes total sense.
Well, the thing about that, you look back on that and laugh and I say this, just enjoy life, because as crazy as this freaking world is, you never know what tomorrow brings. So enjoy it, laugh, and have fun. And I could tell you're definitely enjoying the ride, sailing on and being the wrestler that you could possibly be. So, and that's first and foremost. Now, I had to share this clip with you. I saw it on your social media. You're really big on just to promote yourself, and I thought this picture was so funny, and I'm thinking like the Rose wants to know what was the captain thinking here, because Aubrey Edwards is like, what the hell, and you're like, oh shit, what's going on? So, do you remember this moment? Like, and the thing about it, whoever captured the picture, great work. So, do you know what the moment was?
I remember exactly what I was thinking. And the only thought that I had in that moment was, what is it going to take to kick this zombie's ass? That was it. That was exactly it. That's so funny. That's like, it's so funny, the things that not like exactly go viral or whatever, but they get the most attention. It's just like, that is a really good shot. I think it was the AEW camera people that got that. I don't think it was a photographer. I think like that was a screenshot taken from the actual match.
Yeah. That right there. When I saw that, I was like, I damn sure have to share this on the show with her, because it's like Abbott, now we know how awesome she is. Like, you beating her to a pulp, but it's something that's really cool. But I want to show that too, because as well as it makes us all proud of what you're doing, your AEW work and everything. But we'll talk about that more later on here on Off the Top Rope. Now, also, you're no stranger to being an improv comedian, doing that and just exploring all the talents that you have. Is there a time that you inserted that into your wrestling or improv comedy, you saved that for like another day?
Every single time I have a match, I do improv in the ring. And actually every wrestler does. They're just not trained in the same way. Like, no, this is just like improv comedy. Like, doing an improv comedy show is very different than obviously using improv for wrestling. Every single wrestler is capable of doing improv, and they do, because when you think about cutting a promo, or you think about like, talking your trash before the match, or like when you're face to face and they're saying something and you're saying something, like that comes in handy for me so much. And I'm still so new, like I think just the women's championship match for Stranglehold was my 11th live match. So I'm still less than 20 live matches in. Thank you. But during that match too, there were times where it was like, we were working, I was working the crowd, and like being able to do crowd work, being able to cut promos kind of off the cuff, all improv all the time. If I didn't have improv, I would be so bad at wrestling. Like, I'm pretty bad at wrestling now, but I would be like way worse.
Well, I think it's like, we talked about how, I know you say you love the Attitude Era, old school.
Yes.
And do you think when promos were done back then, it was like a different material, using how to do a promo back then than it is now? Like, or is this the same thing as far as on a promo, compared to today's wrestling from like the Attitude Era or the 80s?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I have a long answer to this. I hope that's okay, but I'm going to work it out loud.
Yeah.
I think that The Rock is the master of the wrestling promo. Like what we think of as like, on this day, at this time, I'm doing this thing, and y'all gonna kill him in the ring, like that. He is like, but right now I would say, and I'm, biased or not, good, bad, right or wrong, whatever, I would say that Cody Rhodes is the master of the authentic promo, because that shit comes from the heart. and you know he means it. And there's so many people, like so many other wrestlers that I know I'm forgetting, but I wouldn't say that it's like better or worse. I would just say that it's different. There are a lot of promos that I see in big promotions now that I think lack authenticity, if that makes sense. And actually in smaller promotions too. And so I think, to me, like, my preference is you need to get your information out there, right? Like, you need to do your wrestling promo, and sometimes that's what you need. It's like, oh, brother, when I get you in the ring, right? Like, that's fine. Yeah, you got to have that in certain circumstances, and that has its place. I'm a big fan of the emotional, authentic, meaningful promo that comes from a place, like a kind of a guttural core place where they actually mean what they're saying, or to some degree, or there's like, it's some level of like heightened reality. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. And you said too, it's just times it's different now. I mean, wrestling has changed. I mean, social media. I mean, but the thing about it is too, how you said wrestling is different now. Being like, there's so many promotions out there. You got, the AEW, WWE, Impact, NWA, and plus the indies, like you're doing. So, especially being, a lady in wrestling, you have so much that you can do in wrestling. There's promotions like everywhere. And it's like, you're probably thinking like, I know you got some barbecue in a little bit, but it's like, man, I can get a plate of this wrestling, a plate of that wrestling.
Totally. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And speaking of like promotions that are everywhere, you're very familiar with, of course, nice Jacksonville, Florida. I know, of course, AEW does their thing in Jacksonville, Florida. Are there any other promotions in Jacksonville that, people should know about in the area, or Jacksonville is not really, how's the Jacksonville flavor, outside of AEW?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's several promotions in Jacksonville, and they're all really good for what they are and what they do. Currently, I actually train at Continental Championship Wrestling, so we'll definitely want to tag them when we release this and put it out in the socials and everything. It's CCW Jacksonville, or Continental Championship Wrestling Jacksonville, something like that. They are amazing. They have weekly tapings. They have CCW Surge, which they tape all the time, and the promoter and owner there lets me train and is training me and lets me work, and I'm the only female, so that's kind of a bummer because I like working with other girls. But I would say that's kind of like my bread and butter right now, because that's the reason that I'm able to have ring time. It's like a 40-minute drive, which is easier than 6 hours. So that's in terms of like the Jacksonville flavor, though, it's very sporadic for live shows. Most of the promotions do a show once a month or once every 2 months, just because it's hard to promote, and because like wrestling is so saturated in Orlando. There's so much all over the place. But Jacksonville has like people don't come here for it, but when they come here and they see it, they're grateful they did.
Good. One thing else that's good, I want to let everybody know, this episode of Off the Top Rope is good as it can be. Like I said, I got my spatula, because if you're grilling right now, definitely have your phone, your computer, and watch this episode of Off the Top Rope, because the captain is here. Vicky Dreamboat is live here on Off the Top Rope on this, of course, Monday night. If you got a comment, you want to ask her a question, who's she going to beat up next or whatever, where she traveling, definitely send the comment. I'll read it live on the air.
I'll load it.
I'll
load us on my phone too, just in case I don't miss anything.
You definitely load it up. Like I said, of course, everybody is definitely engaged and welcome here on Off the Top Rope. Now, you talked a lot about, I think he's the best. You've trained there. The school that stands out to me, because I've had guests on, they talk about a lot. The Nightmare Factory, huge with bringing wrestlers in. If a wrestler said, Captain, I want to go to the Nightmare Factory and train, why would you tell them, dude, this is the place to go to?
So again, very biased, but I think I'm right about this. The Nightmare Factory is one of the only schools that has coaches. This is not saying anything about another school. It's just that it has coaches who are actively working and who are signed to each major promotion. You have a WWE superstar and an AEW superstar. Like, you have two people, and even before Cody had moved over, Coach Cody had moved over, like, you had some of the people who had been in the business the longest, who had serious legitimacy to their names and who are true veterans. And they really, really know their stuff. And Glacier too. Like, Glacier is still working. Glacier is like an absolute legend. And so you get all of these different perspectives. And then of course, Coach Luke Sampson too, who has been on AEW Dark, who works on the indies all the time. Like, he's one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen in my life. You have these people who, though they don't just talk the talk, and it's not a bad thing for folks to be retired. It just is a different thing when you can get in the ring with these people who are still working. Aside from all of that too, the facility is just gorgeous. They have 3 or 4 now, I think 3 or 4 rings, and just a ton of ring time and experience. And you get, when you do the camp, you get the strength and conditioning aspect. So for folks that were maybe not sure how to like get in shape or stay in shape, you get to do that as part of the 12-week camp. And the exercises that you get are very specifically geared towards wrestling, right? So it's like you're building muscles to be able to like lift people over your head and stuff, you know, be able to squat, like be able to move, have your cardio up. So I can't say enough good things about the Nightmare Factory. It is truly just an incredible place.
Definitely Nightmare, Factory. Keep doing what you're doing, because like I said, outside of Vicky Dreamboat, you guys are doing big things. So definitely keep it up, to Cody and everybody else at the Nightmare Factory, doing big things in wrestling. You're training, the present and the future for wrestling. And Vicky, of course, being a wrestler, you always, I always say, I guess in wrestling, you never stop learning. It's like you're learning on the job. And if you can look at yourself maybe from last year till now, what area do you think as a wrestler you've really have gotten better in, and you're just like, man, I've really gotten great at that? Is there an area where you can see that?
I would say everywhere and everything. I'm still learning. I still have a very long way to go. The number one thing that I wanted to get out of the Nightmare Factory camp was to be able to call in the ring. That's a thing that, and I'm still not quite there, but I'm getting better. And actually this past weekend, I had a couple of matches where had I not gone to Nightmare Factory, I would have been completely lost, because it was like doing things, what they call on the fly, is really, really difficult. And it takes years and years of experience. So I haven't quite gotten there, but I was fortunate enough to, like I said, learn under my coaches. So being able to do that, and then also just strikes. My strikes were terrible, truly awful. And now I feel like they're at least passable and getting a lot better. Like I'm able to be safe and also be believable.
Well, like I said, you of course have come a long way, and you're gonna keep getting better and better and better. And I'm gonna roll this clip because I thought this was great in terms of I can see you've been putting the work in, so I'm sure you're gonna remember this. So I'm gonna roll the clip here on the ropes.
Oh, ahoy! Sorry to barge in. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Vicky Dreamboat. Well, technically it's Captain Vicky Dreamboat if you want to get technical, which, hey, actually, I think we should be technical because I worked hard for that captain's license. I worked 7 days a week, 14 hours a day for almost 4 years to become a licensed captain. I am no stranger to perseverance, but those are just facts about me. I may drive a boat, but what really drives me is a passion for bringing joy to others and a passion for a good, clean, fair fight. Only bullies play dirty by default, and I don't care for bullies. People will try to break me down, people will try to beat me down, but there is not a single punch thrown hard enough that could scare me more than a 20-foot wave in the middle of the Bering Sea. I've taken on the ocean. I can take on anything. Captain Vicky Dreamboat.
Yeah.
No, I hate watching myself, but I appreciate you.
I love that, because like once, and I think I love the music in the background. Once you came in, you sailed in, and the music was the background. I was like, I love it. I could tell you was really comfortable doing that, and that's where I saw that. I want to bring it to the broadcast tonight. I was like, yeah, she's her confidence is like through the door. So I wanted to share that with you. So definitely.
Well, I'm sorry, Ty. I can't take credit for the music. That was all Pro Wrestling Action. They edited that together. So definitely big shout out to them, because they're the ones who made it look better. I just said the words and did the things. Like they actually put the music in and edited it and did whatever. So big shout out to them, because I had nothing to do with that part.
Now there's, like we talked about earlier, there are so many promotions out there, and you've been rocking it. AEW, like I said, you are, of course, doing your thing in Stranglehold, Championship Wrestling. You're the women's champion and Pro Wrestling Action. Now, if you look at all three individually, what have they taught you? Because every promotion is different. So what have you learned from each promotion in a different way?
Ooh, yeah, it's a loaded question. You said Stranglehold and Pro Wrestling Action. What's the other one that you wanted me to talk about?
AEW. Like
AEW Dark. Okay, yeah. I would start by saying this. So in order, it was Dark and then Pro Wrestling Action and then Stranglehold. And I think that before any of that, SOS Pro Wrestling and GPW, Georgia Premier Wrestling, prepared me for Dark. Like Nightmare Factory prepared me for Dark. There's no question about that. No way I ever would have even gotten there without them. But having those reps and having that experience is what prepared me to go to Dark and learn what I learned. And what I learned there was how to take something small and make it big, right? So like in those matches, they have the signed talent and then me, like the unsigned talent. And so you don't get to necessarily showcase as many of your moves as you might want. And so I had to make everything count, right? And that was never a challenge that I'd encountered before because every match that I'd had been like 50-50, like give and take kind of thing. So learning like, okay, if I'm going to throw this forearm, this has to be like the forearm from hell. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say I learned from Dark, and just kind of like professionalism and how to conduct yourself at that higher level, and learning what the backstage atmosphere is like in a promotion like AEW. In terms of Pro Wrestling Action, I learned how to work my gimmick better because Pro Wrestling Action is amazing. And they have wrestlers that have like very, very solid gimmicks. And obviously like I got mine, right? So learning how to, and I learned so much working Marina Tucker as well. She's incredible. But even though she cheated for the win, not a fan of that, but here we are. But I learned how to work my gimmick more and kind of like not rely on, but almost like put that at the forefront of my wrestling, like character work. That kind of thing, which is my strong suit, and where I got a lot of that from SOS as well. And then at Stranglehold, man, I'm still kind of processing that because it was just a few days ago. It was such a whirlwind. But I learned what it takes to be a champion, dude. That was crazy. It was a crazy experience. The crowd at Stranglehold and at MomoCon, they're not a wrestling crowd. They don't really care about wrestling. They don't really know anything about wrestling for the most part. They're there for the convention. And they walk by the anime car show and they see a wrestling ring and they're like, what's this? Right. And I was fortunate enough to actually work both Brandy Scotch Baker, who I was able to defeat for the title, but also Shalance Royal. And she, working with her, taught me how to draw a crowd because we were listening the whole time. Right. And it's like, okay, the crowd is doing this, you do this, the crowd is doing that, you do that. And we had, not to toot our own horns, but toot, we ended up having one of the biggest crowds because we were the main event on Friday for the early show, which was so awesome that they put a women's match main event. That was like, thank you guys. But learning how to work the crowd and learning how to apply what you know and apply what you've planned or what you kind of like think will work, and then learning how to change it, like I said earlier, on the fly. And with Stranglehold too, I just learned a lot about the business. I was fortunate enough to be with folks like the promoter Eric, but also like Goth, who is incredible old WCW, or not old, but like he was in the WCW, and he was like a mentor to me and still is. And that was just a few days ago, and I gained a new mentor. So sorry, that was a lot of words, but there was like a lot to cover. I want to make sure I gave everybody their fair shake.
I always say off the top rope, say what you got to say, preach what you got to preach. Like I said, all's welcome here on Off the Top Rope. Now, these next two clips talk about and put in the frame what you just talked about. Now, the first one is, I had to share this too because I say this is all about putting in the hard work. Like I said, being a champion, this is ropes proud. And the way I think it would be, every champion wants to do something different. Every champion is different because of who they are. Now, you being, of course, the champion in Stranglehold, like what do you want to bring to the title that maybe no other champion has done before?
I want to defend that title with integrity. I will never ever cheat to win a match. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to bully anybody. It's kind of like I said in that promo, like that is just like Vicky Dreamboat through and through. I'm very dedicated to defending that title honorably. And if it means like not playing dirty until the other wrestler does, like I'll fight dirty. I'm not scared to, but it's not my default. You know what I mean? So I would say just like defending that with honor. And obviously like making it very clear that it's an honor to hold the title at all. But aside from that, I was holding that thing on Saturday and I was like, man, I'm uncomfortable. I don't know what to do with this. Like, it's kind of heavy. Like, I don't know. Do I put it on I don't know. I'm going to set it down on the table. Like, I was working at my table and they were like, take a picture with your belt. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm not sure how. So it's all, like I said, processing.
But they're definitely heavy. I mean, they have to weigh. The belts are not. It's not like picking up like a styrofoam box. Them belts are pretty heavy.
And I'm a strong girl, but it's not that it's heavy. It's just that it's like cumbersome, but a burden, not at all. But I'm willing, very very much grateful for, and more than happy to bear.
Now, you being a champion right now, and you've been in the business a while now, when you're camping, that bullseye is on your back. So if you had to look at the talent currently right now, and they may be watching the broadcast, who do you think is going to be coming after you that you know quite well? It's like that person from school that drives you crazy. Who do you think is going to be like knocking on your door soon?
I think that Gemma Jules is going to vie for the championship. And I think that Shalonce Royal is going to vie for the championship. I think Shalonce is probably the one who is going to be most after it. And I mean, Brandy Scotch Baker at Stranglehold, like, she wants her title back. She's the one that I'm actually worried about, because unlike Gemma and Royal, like, Brandy will beat the crap out of you, and it won't be fair. So that's the one that I'm actually worried about. But those are that's kind of like the Stranglehold women's division. So I think everybody wants it, right? Like, I understand that, but they can't have it. I got it. I'm gonna defend it with everything I have.
Can't have the belt, the captain sailing with us. So you got to make do, or just go somewhere else and try to get some gold there. Now, I wanted to definitely talk about this because I saw the pictures. It looked like a hell of a time. Atlanta must have been sizzling. And I want to show this to the fans, of course. This weekend.
Oh yeah.
Mama Khan and Stranglehold. They came together in Atlanta, and I really like this picture with you and the fan. You had your table with merch and everything. How just freaking awesome was it? I mean, whatever place that they had it in, the place looked big as hell. I was like, damn, that's a big ass place. So,
it is. It was the Georgia World Congress Center.
Oof.
Yes. And that fan actually is a fan named Brandon. I don't know if he wants me to share his socials or anything, but he's awesome. He actually saw me wrestle my third live match ever. Right, it was the last match I had before I got hurt, and he was there, and it was against the Renegade Twins at Georgia Premier Wrestling, and that's when I first met him. So he's followed me for a little while. I'm very very grateful for him and fans like him, because he's just super super great. So big shout out to Brandon.
Brandon, my man. I just want to share it because seeing you, with the merch and with the fans, you being a champion, just makes, like I said before, it just makes me more even proud, to have the captain on the show and just seeing how you're doing good things. So I wanted to share that too. And if they have a Mama Con next year, I may take my ass down to Georgia next year and be there. So
yeah. Definitely, 100%.
Now, it's your first time on the ropes. We go to a point in the show where I got to stomp you. So you ready for the next segment?
No. Okay.
All right. Well, let's roll the clip. So I got to try to stomp the captain. So let's do it.
Damn, Ty. That's good.
All right. Let's roll it. Now, Vicky Dreamboat sails into Jacksonville, Florida to defend the Stranglehold title at her promoted Memorial pay-per-view that she's doing on her own. Now, what would the event be called using the word dream? What's the venue that you would use, and an opponent you've never faced, and then to add into the match a Memorial Day themed gimmick match?
Oh, okay. Okay. Honor the fallen, fight for the brave, dream on and sail away at the Atlantic Beach. What is it called? Event Center, Atlantic Beach Event Center. All I did was the tagline. What else do I need?
Who'd you face? You never faced before.
I want to face. Can it be anybody?
It can be anybody.
Oh, I want to face freaking Dream Girl Ellie. Dream Squared. That's what it is. I want to face Dream Girl Ellie, Dream Squared. That's what we'll call it. There we go. Yeah.
Now, would this be a straight match or like a Memorial Day themed gimmick match? Like, what special flavor would you add to it?
Yeah, I don't know how to make it Memorial Day themed. We could the loser gets carried out in an American flag. That's all I got. Like a giant American flag, just like.
You know, I'll take that because you did really good. You was flying by and you like boom, 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 boom. So, like I said, you did real good. You get an A+ on that. I'm glad you enjoyed that segment. So I'm glad you definitely enjoyed that. So now, Vicky, as we roll on to the end of this awesome episode of Off the Top Rope Memorial Day night, I wanted to plug this because July 17th, you know, you got a big day coming up. And also I want to share too.
Yay!
July 17th, of course, you know, pro wrestling action, and you got your Patreon that you're building. So let everybody know. Talk to everybody about these two wonderful, wonderful things.
Thank you. Yeah. So we'll talk about Patreon first, and we'll finish with pro wrestling action. So my Patreon has all sorts of different content. You can go anywhere from $5 to $25 a month. Obviously, like the higher tiers, you get more content. So you get early releases of almost every social media post. If people on Patreon knew that I won the championship and saw what I was going to post and heard way more of the story than anybody else has, just by virtue of subscribing, you get photo shoots. So there's a lot of photo shoots that I do that do not get released to the public. They're only for my Patreon subscribers. You get matches, like full matches that aren't posted anywhere else. Sometimes they are. Sometimes you just get the matches early. And then you also get blog posts and you get live. So I don't go live on Instagram. I only go live on my Patreon for the most part. Occasionally I'll do both. So Patreon's super fun. And y'all are helping me pay my rent. So that would be dope. Thank you. And then on July 17th, I'll be back at Pro Wrestling Action. And I don't know who I'm facing yet. So, you know, no spoilers for me. Nobody knows. But we'll do the All-Star Battle. So definitely follow Pro Wrestling Action. And if you can find your way to Sanford, Florida, which is just outside Orlando, it's going to be a good time. I'm so honored to be on the card with some of the talent there. They're just absolutely incredible.
Man, you know, I'm also honored that Vicky Dreamboat sailed to the ropes tonight on Memorial Day night. And I want to ask Vicky straight up, as always, the end off the top rope. Vicky, from 1 to 10, would you ever come back on off the top rope again?
100.
I get a 100.
You just got a 100. You give me 10. Man, I'm going to 10 times that. 100. 100% I'd come back. No, absolutely.
Well, I'm truly honored that you came on tonight's episode. I know you had a busy weekend, but most importantly, that I want to thank you very, very much for coming on the show. Defend that title, kick ass, take names, and keep doing what you're doing, because here on Off the Top Rope, we are proud of the one and the only Captain Vicky Dreamboat.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun, and I really appreciate it.
No doubt, no doubt. You're always welcome back here on Off the Top Rope. Now, I want to tell everybody, enjoy your holiday. Vicky, I know she can get her barbecue. And like I always said, this episode tonight was flipping, sizzling. I got the spatula too. So I'm your boy, Ty Asbury. Vicky, God bless. Be safe. And keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Ty. Y'all take care. Bye.
This is your boy, Ty Asbury. Have a great, great holiday. Love yourself. God bless. Peace out.
The Ropes Media. Tyrone Asbury. Yeah. Tyrone Asbury. Yeah. Every chance you get to hear us, you clear us. It's the time on the radio.